You know the dynamics have changed. Now his show no longer has an audience. He seeks attention. He tries to provoke. He does everything to be noticed. And you stopped offering that. He disappears. He makes an effort. He cries out for validation. And you observe. You wonder if this is the right answer, if absence will bring about change. But the truth is simple. You just interrupted the cycle. The pattern repeats. He needs your stage. Without it, the show doesn't happen. And what do? You step back and he gets confused. Rejection is a clear message. Your indifference echoes. And deep down, he realizes that control has slipped away. You don't need to validate. You don't need to respond. You just need to keep your distance. And so the bond weakens because you decided not to sustain it anymore. There is no victory in insistence, only weariness. If something is going to change, it will be by your decision, not by empty promises or desperate gestures. The reality has already been presented. And he tries again with a new trick, a new tactic. He reinvents himself like an artist who cannot accept failure. He appears under new lights, a different mask for each act. But what he doesn't realize is that the audience is no longer interested in his performances. You observe his every move. His hope wavers between the expectation of a return and the frustration of abandonment. The attempts are an empty dance. He spins, jumps, juggles. And you? You remain still. Silence has its own weight. Absence becomes an undeniable presence. Every time he approaches, you feel the urgency to withdraw. It is almost palpable. He needs your response, and you refuse to give it. The power now lies in your hands. But this change comes with a price, because by distancing yourself, you observe the mirror he offers, a reflection of your own fears. He feels the loss. His fury turns into despair. But none of this is enough. The truth is that the connection was based on unmet needs. While he sought validation, you sought stability. Now he cries out to the void. He changes his approach. Emotional appeals, promises of change. Like an actor who knows the show is about to end, he reverts to the previous script. But you've read his lines before. You know the plot doesn't change. The repetition is exhausting. He ignores the reality around him. He is so focused on his own suffering that he doesn't realize the stage has already been dismantled. And you are watching from a distance. What you see is not the image you would like to recognize, but a caricature of the search for affection, a shadow of what could have been. His frustration grows. The attempts become more intense, almost desperate. He criticizes, accuses, tries to provoke you in every way, but you do not let yourself be swayed. And while he flails, you remain impassive. He cries out for attention, but you've already decided that the show is over. The pattern is familiar. He tries to manipulate, you respond with indifference. The cycle repeats, but now you are out of it. This change takes courage, and you have it. Do not be fooled by his emotional fluctuations. This is not love. It is dependence disguised. Every interaction is a test. He wants to provoke you to act, to feel guilt, but you have already learned to deal with this. The emotions he tries to evoke have no power over you. You watch as he struggles against the tide. For a moment, you hesitate. It is natural to want to get involved. But clarity prevails. While he writhes in his quest for control, you realize that the true power lies in the choice to remain indifferent. And this indifference is often more powerful than any word or gesture. The bond was cut because you decided not to sustain his narrative. Now reality imposes itself with a different weight. Every time you say no, he confronts an abyss. You are not only stepping away, but also liberating yourself. The reality you've created is one that needs no explanation. Every step back is a step toward your autonomy. This cycle of pain and despair consumes him. The cold, hard truth is that he is not ready for change. He doesn't want a new beginning. He wants to return to the old. That familiar dynamic. And you? You are exactly where you need to be, far away. The wear and tear is evident. The tension between you becomes palpable. And in your mind, a voice echoes, "This is not about you. It's about what you allow in your life. The way you decide to relate to others. The time you've spent waiting, negotiating, trying to find meaning in actions that make no sense." Every lost minute is a cry for help cast into the void. He doesn't understand that control is not a game. Your freedom is not a concession. If something is going to change, it will be by your choice. You looked at his empty promises and saw the weakness. The reality has already been presented, and the choice is clear. You stand firm. There is no room for doubt. There is no room for the past. The curtains close. The show ends. And in the end, you stand up, walk away, leave the echo of memories behind. And so, the cycle finally breaks. The truth is simple. Control can be left behind, but freedom you have always possessed. You walk away, but the memory still lives. Each echo of past laughter, the promise of what could have been. The mind searches for answers, even as the body moves forward. The emotional wear has left marks that do not easily fade. He tries to reinvent himself, like an artist on the brink of a creative collapse. Now, he presents himself in new colors, each attempt more desperate than the last. But you've seen the show before, you recognize the repetition in his lines. It's almost a tragic comedy, a cycle of attempts and errors, and while he struggles, the shadows of his own insecurity are projected onto you. His fight is a reflection. You observe and feel the pain he tries to hide. But this empathy should not confuse you. The fact that you understand his fragility doesn't mean you should give in. You remember the lost nights, the endless conversations that led nowhere. Time stood still while he sought attention, approval. Your life became a secondary stage. And now you take back control. The memories surface, but you take a deep breath. Each fleeting thought is an opportunity to question. Is it worth it? The cost was too high. The never-fulfilled promises echo like screams into the void. What really happened there? Was there love, or just a desire disguised as acceptance? You are not simply walking away. You are choosing a new direction. The decision doesn't come without challenges. There are moments when doubt returns disguised as longing. You may feel the temptation to look back, but there is nothing there anymore. Just an empty stage. The curtains have closed. Sometimes you catch yourself imagining how things would have been if they were different, if he had changed, if you had fought a little harder. But these questions are traps. They revive the suffering. They are echoes of a past that has no relevance in the present. The connection that existed was not loving. It was dependent, a dance of fears and desires. Now, looking back, you can see the distorted movements. Every gesture that seemed caring reveals itself as a maneuver of control. Every sweet word was full of manipulation. The touch that warmed could also burn. And by allowing yourself to see clearly, you realize you were not just walking away from him. You were approaching yourself, a reunion with your essence, your value. You don't need his validation. You don't need the crumbs he offers. In fact, all of this only served to fuel uncertainty. He claims, calls for you in ways that might have worked before. But now you are no longer the captive audience. You have transformed into the relentless critic, capable of seeing beyond the artifices. His hunger for attention is insatiable, but you are no longer the feast. As he tries to lure you back, he realizes that each new attempt generates resistance. You don't react, you observe. And in this silence, you become even stronger. He doesn't know how to deal with indifference. For him, the game has always been about power and control. And now, without answers, he feels the weight of your absence. Every step you take towards your independence is a stab in the narrative he constructed, and confrontation becomes inevitable. He tries to find a way to make himself noticed, but the frustration only intensifies his desperation. He criticizes your new steps, your renewed confidence, but that doesn't matter. You are not here to prove anything. What you have gained throughout this process is something beyond words. It is a feeling of lightness, of liberation. The prison you felt dissolves like mist under the sunlight. There, deep down, you realize that true strength resides not in fighting against him, but in choosing not to engage in this dynamic anymore. And while he gets lost in his own illusions, you find yourself. The silence between you is no longer uncomfortable. It is a space for growth. It is there that you begin to plant the seeds of a different future, a future that requires neither his shadow nor the old story. Thus the truth imposes itself. His control crumbles, and the freedom you always had begins to bloom. The reality has already been presented. You decided to leave behind what no longer serves, and with each passing day that choice strengthens. Now you move forward. Leave behind the noise, the attempts to reverse the situation. Walk, without hurry, knowing that each step is a return to yourself. The cycle has broken. The old drama no longer has a place in your life. Your destiny is yours. The path is yours. And the freedom you found is your greatest achievement. You realize that distance creates space for reflection, It is in isolation that you learn about what you really need. Life is not a spectacle, but a series of choices. And now each choice becomes an affirmation of who you really are. Silence brings clarity. It is there, far from the confusion, that you begin to glimpse your own value. Memories are no longer prisons, but lessons. You look back and see the moments you surrendered to chaos when his laughter was a trick, a disguise to cover his own weaknesses. Now those memories are just recollections of a time that has passed. He tries a new approach. You feel the attempt at seduction in the words he uses, but each word sounds empty. The echo of his failed promises resonates like an out-of-tune music. You are no longer the audience that would be taken in by the illusion. The internal transformation is in progress, and you realize that you are reshaping yourself. Your identity no longer depends on the gaze of another. On the contrary, it strengthens in his absence. You become your own reference, a compass that points to authenticity. Each step out of that shadow is a step towards the light. You remember the deep conversations that never were, the questions that went unanswered while he got lost in his own ego. Now you understand that the search for connection should not be a negotiation. It should flow naturally. And when someone is not capable of offering that, there is no room for maintaining the bond. Each time he tries to make contact, you feel the temptation to respond, the familiarity of the suffering he provokes. But this impulse is the trap you are no longer willing to fall into again. You are a person who now says no to dysfunctional patterns. Emotional confrontation ceases to be a battle for control and transforms into a recognition of your own power. His fragility becomes almost palpable. Each new attempt to provoke you reveals his desperation. He cannot bear the idea that you have moved on. And while he struggles, you watch his internal fight. And paradoxically, this frees you even more. It is merely a reflection of the dependency you decided to abandon, and thus you become stronger. Indifference becomes your armor. You recognize that there is no need to engage with his pain. There is no need to respond to his call. You are no longer in the audience, and that is liberating. There is no longer a need to justify your decision. It is pure and simple. You chose yourself. In this new space, you discover things that were not possible before. The art that was dormant inside you awakens again. You start exploring new passions, rediscovering old hobbies. Each brushstroke on a canvas is an act of self-worth. Each note played on an instrument is a celebration of freedom. The friendships that flourish in this new chapter offer genuine support, people who do not measure their words for acceptance, but connect through empathy. And this network of support broadens your perception of love and friendship. You realize that you do not need to prove anything to anyone. This lightness is new and invigorating. He continues to try. The messages become more loaded, more intense, but you have learned to recognize emotional games. The pattern no longer repeats. Now they are just echoes of the past. And what do? Ignore them. Silence is your ally. You do not need to give thanks for having overcome the storm. What was a storm now turns into a gentle breeze, and it is in this peaceful space that you find your purpose. Life is not a burden. Freedom is not a destination, but a way of being. And by embracing this, you also embrace your imperfections. Over time, the painful memories will dissipate. They do not disappear completely, but they lose their power over you. Emotional wear and tear is no longer a weight, but a reminder of the strength acquired. You do not define yourself by your wounds, but by your ability to heal. And there he is again, trying to break the silence. You read the message, but do not feel pressured to respond. Each word from him is an invitation to return to the cycle. But you have already realized that true change comes from within. You do not need validation. The only voice that matters now is your own. So you decide not to respond. The act of not interacting becomes a symbol of autonomy. Each day unfolds into new possibilities. You begin to plan a future that has no room for old limitations. The fear of his reactions dissipates. As you move forward, the weight of others' expectations melts away. You are not running. You are simply moving toward what you truly desire. True love does not require sacrifice. It manifests in mutual respect and freedom. You are no longer tied to your past. The cycle has broken definitively. The old story is no longer part of your narrative. And as new days arise, you realize that the journey does not have to be lonely. Surrounding yourself with people who value you, who respect your boundaries, is part of the new life you are building. And in this way, life transforms. It is not a spectacle, but an enriching everyday life. The truth has already been presented. Now, you are the protagonist of your own story, and with silent determination, you move forward.